This is a random thought, but to me it's very interesting thought. I thought I'll share with you. I'm at my brother's house, suburb of Tokyo, walked around the garden and the neighborhood, little park, and lots of thought popped up. And I just want to ramble, talk about it because it's quite interesting. If I were to capture the essence of this idea, it's about awakening and, as usual, and think from various angles to know what's going on. Yeah, that's the subject. And why it's important to have different angles to look at things, because if you are fixated, you only see one thing, but you may not see the other part of the whole picture. Just like watching with the eyes, but you can watch with the X-ray, or there's different ways. Also the sound, light, everything. And the light, certain people have certain frequency. The insect and bird may have different frequency. So the reality of what's happening can be only accessed by being able to look at various angles. So if it's like a health and the MRI, this MRI can see things and X-ray can see another things, things like that. But this is related to the brain, because we use brain to know what's going on and how to act, but more you can see things from different angle. It's kind of like if you see the brain in the memories and look at this angle, this angle, this angle, this angle, what it appears to be different. And if we are awakened to be free from thought, which is like no mind and no self, then it indicates that you are open to see what's going on. And if I picture what's in the brain, it can be like at one moment you look at this angle, the other moment different angle, and so forth. And what it means is like when I was out walking, yes, this is the moment when I felt interesting, that I was in the little park and there are lots of trees. I want to share this, so maybe I'll take a video later if I remember. And if I walk, you see the trees and standing here and there, and the pedestal or whatever, the pavement would move on, and everything changes. And if our mind is fixated, you may only see this angle of the vision, even if the eyes can see peripheral area. But in my view, if you are awakened, let's say, meaning free from thought, then thinking only one area, but be able to see other areas. It's kind of like Aikido exercise. I forgot the name of it. Something about the eyes, that you see things, not just one, but everything. If I say it in a logical way, it can only be said like looking at the horizontally or vertically or in angle, but all of them at the same time. So you see the movement of the opponent you are doing the Aikido. So you adjust to their movement and even to see what they may be focused on. So you just kind of duck away from their angle, and then you're free to make a movement so that you can let him fall down or something, if that's the way they are coming at you. But you are empty, but they have the intention, and you see the intention and their mind focus in certain way, and you just take a movement and accordingly you can be free, and they are fixated in the idea, and they just fall down. And if you can see some of the, maybe I can post the video, I don't know if I can, but if you see Aikido, that's what happens. If the master is good, they then just flip with one finger, they can fall. And that sounds ridiculous, but that's what Aikido is about. I didn't think about talking about Aikido, but just popped up. It's just like that, that if you're walking in this park or any location, and the trees are standing, and I feel like I'm like a Musashi or the soldier or swordman, and dealing with the opponent, because their movement of those trees, as you walk, everything's moving, and you are like empty. Therefore, you're not fixated about the path or what to do or what you're thinking. Therefore, you're open to take any action. And if you apply this idea, the mind is free. When you have this conversation going on with someone, I had this experience that was not so pleasant, but this person was talking something with rigid framework that this is the solution. And I said, why don't you look at this angle? And he doesn't want to listen. So I couldn't understand why he couldn't listen, but so I said again about certain things, and he got upset. My position is this, I don't want to hear anything about it, that kind of stuff. And I didn't think much about it, but I felt a little uneasy at the time, but I let go, because nothing you can do if someone is fixated. That's my view. And I didn't want me to be fixated, so I stopped, observed, and let go. Because otherwise you get influence from the aggressiveness I felt. Yeah, there's another story about this caring of what's going on. I was on the train back to this brother's house, and there was this person next to me who started to talk to me about how to move around at the airport, because it's a train toward the airport. And I explained he turned out to be the priest in Hawaii, so we talked about what is religion and what he does, and he said, long story short, the bottom line is caring. You say something, but people have different opinion and different dogma or idea. And if you have to share something, and if that doesn't communicate, like writing a book and sharing ideas, that like a holistic idea of how the world can change, and the vision of how can we be happy or some such thing, the person you're talking to may have fixated some idea, may not be able to listen. Yes, I was talking about my third book, Results from the Heart, and I had the idea of bringing the heart into business, but the book didn't sell many, therefore I was talking about it. And he said, caring, that's the only way to open up the mind of someone to connect to your message, if that is truly sincere, truthful, connected, coming from heart. And if you do that, it may happen, it may not happen. But just like the Aikido's case, this is the opposite of fighting. The caring is the opposite. So it's more stillness, not the aggression in any direction. So all you do is to care for that person. And that care for the person comes from the heart, with sincerity and truthfulness. Then the path may open up, it may not, but you still provide that care. And that is, if that is rooted from the heart, that's all you can do, just caring. About the person, I talked about this aggression kind of feeling I felt. I didn't make any judgment, but after that happened for 24 hours or more now, I thought, well, I'd better not to meet him anymore. It's not me saying, but my body was saying that that's better. It's kind of like aggression. You don't go in his way, duck and let him do whatever. And if he falls, that's fine. But if he doesn't, that's his business. But me being free and no mind, so no presupposed way of looking at things that we can, or I can make the right judgment, then I can find my way to be at least safe, but even to care for things to happen. Kenji Miyazawa, I think, wrote many, he's a poet and writing books, he has written books. I don't remember the exact word, but well, at least one I remember is that his story was taken from the field in the evening when the star was up or whatever, taken from the field. Not from his mind of what, but coming from outside, and just it generated the story or the poem. And I remember that, and I like that. He has other poems that I like. I even posted in my epilogue of my book called Withstanding the Rain. I liked it, but the person I was talking to, by the way, he said he didn't like that poem because he was weak and he died young, so he didn't practice, or some judgment he made with that poem. But I didn't take it that way, that the poem was compassion. One more thing I can talk is Mr. or the Professor Oka, who was a mathematician, studied Zen also, and friend of Nakayama, my mentor. And the story of Oka was about the enlightenment, or coming up with the idea. He said he called the problem if he thinks of the problem for 3 days and cannot find the answer. And how he deal with that problem? He said, think about it 3 days, whatever, horizontally and vertically, and all angles about that, and think through, and sleep on it after 3 days, whatever. Then the answer pops up. Something like that. So it's kind of like solving the koan in Zen, or any difficult problem. Don't make judgment prematurely. Take time. When you take time, just like I was walking through this small forest of pines and trees standing in this little park, you observe things, what is going on, without any position. So that it's like a self-organizing. Things start to talk. Trees talking, moving, not you. And it's self-organized, meaning come up with what's going on. So just like this Aikido, if you don't have the position and free, then you move in the direction that you're safe and still compassionate feeling to whatever the opponent is doing, then take action. So that thinking this way, that way, that is think deeply, not just in the shallow mind, and make a decision. This is bad, this is not good, and I don't want to listen, I want to talk anybody about anything about it, but rather just be. No position, no self. So maybe if I just conclude this, which was maybe seem random, but in randomness is the answer is perhaps the point I'm talking about, that idea can pop up out of the random. Things start to get synthesized to come up with a solution of what to do. So why I move around, why I meet many people. When I meet, I like to and discuss. In different country, different city, different tradition, and any person, a very highly established person, as well as just local people or kids, free, no ranking, no assessment, who is who and what's not, but rather accept everything as is. And with that sense, with that compassion at the depth from the heart, we'll find the answer. The answer comes to us. That's awakening, that's insight, that is wisdom and compassion. So be free and let things to happen, and you find a way. By having this mind which is free, can think and observe things from all different angles and stay quiet, if it's 3 days, whatever. In the case of swordsmanship, you have to be very quick, or Aikido, you have to be quick, but the stillness has to be within you. And care, wishing for all to be happy and relate to each other. I think that is the key point, the message, and the way I like to live my life, going beyond the confinement of the mind and the self-centeredness, if I can avoid. I'm not God, I'm not perfect totally, but this is just orientation that I thought was interesting by just walking through the little trail among those pine trees, and everything is good, and I can relate, be a part of it, hopefully to bring out the wisdom and compassion.